What? The food? What? I mean, this is an area of history that's just like so deep.
Hand over the baguette.
Themes of empire, mission, inheritance, and destiny. Hello guys, welcome back to What the Food. If you're returning, welcome back. It's nice to have you along. And if it's your first time here, welcome.
Where have you been?
Pull up.
Been waiting
Where
for
have you
you.
been? Yeah, instant like annoyed at them for not. Yeah. Where have you been?
Where have you been?
Why have you not been here?
Sure excuse.
If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Miles, and as always, I'm here with Andy.
That's me.
And it's our mission to delve into history and uncover the fascinating origin stories behind dishes from all around the world, both popular and weird and obscure.
Did you say the name?
So, What the Food?
Yeah. Sorry.
Did I not say it?
Maybe you did. I just straight over my head. What's it called again?
What's it called? Yeah, what are we doing? What's this? So what are we looking at today, Andy?
Well, I've got a retreat for you today, Milo.
Ooh.
A retreat. Today, we'll be exploring the origins of the world's favourite breakfast pastry, the croissant.
The croissant.
Croissant. So it's not croissant. It's not that. It's not how you say it.
Croissant.
It's not that.
No.
It's
Whatever that is, that's not it.
yeah. That's just not it. It's croissant.
Oh. Right, okay.
So
I had this conversation with people recently. Is when British people try and say things in the way it's supposed to be said, it just doesn't sound right.
No. So like, let me just spell it out how you meant to say it. So it's KWASS, quass, on. OHM.
Right. Well, do you know what? This segues brilliantly into something that I discovered when I was just getting ready for this episode.
Yeah.
There was a tweet that went viral a few years ago, and it was this girl posted it, and it was a screenshot of her text message with her boyfriend, and he'd gone out to get her some food and like some shopping, and like he'd asked her if she wanted a croissant, but he obviously didn't know how to spell it.
Right.
And that's how he spelt it. She thought it was hilarious and screenshotted it, put it on Twitter, and it went viral. And he'd spelt it QWAS, quaz, and then a space, and he put aunt as in like AREN''T.
Wow.
Croissant. Like
Absolute no hope.
that's how he thought it was.
He's just spelling it how it sounds there, isn't he? That's his tactic.
Yeah,
that he's
phonetically.
gone for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, funny you went on a bit of a segue, because segue?
Yeah. Segue.
Isn't that a thing with two wheels?
I think it's both, yeah.
Okay, be both.
You can segue into a different point, but you can also hop on a two-wheeled auto balancing device.
Why
Horrendously dangerous.
Why have they called it that then? Do you reckon?
I don't know. Maybe because it gets you from A to B from one point to the other.
Segue up the street.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, sorry. So when I was doing the research for croissants, I came across a news article from this year, from the 15th of April, about an unusual animal lurking in a tree in the Polish city of Krakow. Right. So it's a BBC News article. Right. I latched onto it. Read it. People were terrified. Basically, one lady said people were not even opening their windows as they are that afraid of this mysterious animal, and that it would fly from the tree into their house. Like, people were petrified, right? So
calling up animal welfare.
Yeah. No, so they did. So the woman who reported it to the police and the animal welfare units described it as a lagoon before correctly remembering that the word leguan it translates to iguana. So she thought it was an iguana, basically.
Right. Okay.
Well, the animal welfare arrived, and it turns out that this iguana, it was a croissant.
The whole neighbourhood racked with fear over a croissant in a tree.
Exactly. Someone had chucked a full croissant up in a tree, and residents thought it was a dangerous reptile, bird of prey, God knows what it was, for 2 whole days.
That maybe is a sign of how uncultured they are over in Krakow.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like they don't have a clue what a croissant is, and they just think it's this decapitated iguana.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to send you the picture of it, and I'll also, when this episode comes out, I'll put the picture up on our Facebook and Instagram page so the listeners can see it. I'll just send you the picture now, just so you can see what we're dealing with.
Okay. I mean, I don't know whether it's the fact that I know already that it's a croissant, that all I'm seeing is just an upturned croissant. But I don't know. I guess like at a glance, it looks like maybe like a ginger cat.
Yeah, it's got a big heft to it,
Stuck
isn't
up in
it?
a tree. Yeah, it's a big croissant. It's a really big croissant.
Cracking stuff.
But anyway, I don't think I'd have called animal welfare. Put it that way.
No, no,
probably
not.
just investigated it to the point where I've discovered it was a croissant myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Oh,
terrified they were. Now, when we first talked about doing this episode, you said a few things which led me to believe that you thought the croissant originated in France and it was a completely French invention, right?
That's where I'm still at.
No, that's where you're still at.
Is that not?
I mean, even the great Kanye West alludes to their French status with the following lyric:
I am a god, so hurry up with my damn massage in a French ass restaurant. Hurry up with my damn croissant.
Just that lyric, just beautiful.
In it, hey, he goes from genius lyrics to that.
I know. In a like French ass restaurant, hurry up with my damn croissants.
What's the other one? He's like, there's another song and he's like, left my fridge open and somebody just stole my sandwich.
Really? I've not heard that. What fucking song?
Oh my God. It's on Life of Pablo album.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's talking about friends and he's like, your real friends, they took advantage. I left my fridge open and somebody took my sandwich. It's a legit lyric. So he's French ass restaurant.
Yeah,
he's got no idea like where he is, does he?
Hurry up with my damn
I'm in
croissant.
a French ass restaurant. Like, just hurry up with my damn croissants. He's having multiple.
Yeah,
he's having a couple of croissants. Oh God.
Brilliant. Well, anyway, today you and Mr. West are about to have your entire realities challenged. You're going to feel basically like a flat earther when they visit a port and see a ship coming over the horizon. You're just going to be you're going to be completely rocked.
So it's not French?
No, croissants ain't French in origin, lad. Not strictly anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
For something that's so, quintessentially, symbolically French in its,
Well, we'll get into like sort of how they became that and how. But anyway, before we dig into all this, let's just give people an overview of what a croissant actually is, just in case there are any listeners that haven't experienced the joy of a continental breakfast before.
Yeah. The joy.
So what is a croissant? So the Oxford Dictionary definition for a croissant reads as follows.
A small, sweet roll with a curved shape, eaten especially at breakfast.
Pretty simple, huh?
So in the Oxford's definition, it doesn't state its place of origin. It's just saying a small, sweet roll with a curved shape. So,
super simple.
Yeah, curved shape.
Well, knowing what I do about baking and about how to actually make them, croissants are anything but simple.
Yes, I was going to say, I've heard something about this. There was a post on Reddit that I also found, and it was someone asking, like, can anyone tell me how to make the iconic classic French croissant, please, on this Reddit post? And the top comment was, it's a simple two-step process. Number 1, find a good French-style bakery in your area. 2, go there and buy them. It's not worth 100%. Making on your own.
No, that's absolutely spot on.
So what's so hard about it then?
Well, here's a better definition from Bakerpedia, which gives you a better idea as to what actually makes a croissant.
A croissant is a laminated, yeast-leavened bakery product that contains dough/roll in fat layers to create a flaky, crispy texture. A croissant usually contains normal levels of salt, yeast, and sugar. Okay, laminated. I don't know why, but in my mind I just had year 6 laminating machine. Plastic thing going into it.
Plastic things, yeah. No, it's a bit more... Well, just before we move on though, I imagine you spent a lot of your time on Bakerpedia recently, haven't you, Miles?
Yes.
Commenting on forums, chatting with fellow dough wranglers. Yeah.
An admin, a moderator on the page, a lot.
For sinking your teeth into some fucking dough-based discussions.
Of which there are many, actually. Like, we're laughing, but that is a fucking huge community of people. So laminated.
Anyway, so lamination. Have you ever laminated anything in the baking world?
No.
So basically what lamination is, it's a time-consuming folding process that creates alternating dough and fat layers.
Right.
So in the case of croissant, the fat is usually like butter and the dough is made from like a mixture of flour, salt, sugar, water and yeast.
Right.
You basically roll out your fat till it's a layer and then you roll out your dough till a layer and then you basically like layer it all on top of each other.
It's giving me strudel vibes. When we were talking about strudel, it's all layered up and...
Yeah. Well, the idea of it is that obviously you've got alternating layers, and obviously the butter will melt or the fat will melt, and then it will penetrate the dough. So you get like crispy, flaky.
Yeah. So this is the difficulty here, then, isn't it, of getting this process right?
It's just time. Like I've made a few things, and it's just a lot of effort, a lot of time. Okay. Like that thing that you read before. About that process. Just get someone else to do it for you.
That is just the key point to take away from it.
Yeah.
So it takes some real skill to make a proper croissant.
Yeah, it takes some real skill. I mean, it's fairly easy to do once you know what you're doing, but it still takes time.
Okay, fair enough. All right,
it's just a time-consuming thing. But anyway, so the ideal croissant should be beautifully buttery and perfectly tender, but not mushy or overly moist. It needs to have like a delicate flakiness, but still have like a slight satisfying chew to it.
Yeah.
The layers need to be well defined and should not fall apart in one horrible mess after you've taken a bite.
Yeah. There's not much room for error, is there, in the creation of a croissant? Like, I feel like when you make a sponge cake, it's like, okay, if it's a little bit more moist, a little bit more dense, whatever, that is just a more dense cake. Yeah. So be it. Whereas the same kind of mistake in the process of making a croissant is just going to leave you with something that's just not a croissant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just a mime's going to come through the door and just hit you with a massive baguette.
God, mimes. They're so scary. I hate that. Anything like that. Clowns, mimes.
Oh God. Horrendous.
Get out. Get in a bin.
Like a real bin, not an imaginary bin as well.
Yeah.
And finally, the bake of a croissant should be golden, but not brown and too crispy, basically.
Right.
So you see, Oxford Dictionary ain't just a damn small, sweet roll with a curved shape.
Yeah. You're underplaying it.
Yes, you bastards. It takes experience, skill, time, and patience to get right.
Guardiola style of play.
Yeah, that's what you need to make a croissant round here. You need a Guardiola style of play.
Exactly. Okay, so so I'm not going to make one anytime soon. I think I'm going to continue to purchase them from someone knows how to make them better than I do. Yeah,
no, spot on, mate. Yeah. Spot on. So now we at least know what a croissant is. So the next logical step is digging down into how this perfect pastry came into existence.
Going back in time.
Back in time.
Beep, beep. You've arrived.
A sip of refreshment.
You've arrived in the year. Not sure yet, because Andy knows the info.
The gatekeeper will tell us where we are. So yeah, as we said right at the beginning, shockingly, croissants were not invented in France.
Right.
So yeah, the Frenchies might act like they were the ones who invented the pastry, but in reality, the croissant.
It's a mine. I make it.
I make it.
Get it off. It's a mine.
Borat.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the croissant's origin story is incredibly complex, and it actually starts off in a completely different country in Europe. Have a guess, mate. Out of all the countries in Europe, which do you think was responsible for the early life or the birth of the croissant?
The croissant. Using what knowledge I've gained from this podcast and using the two words Europe and pastry, I'm going to have to come up with Austria.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Spot on.
That's just because of the strudel.
Yeah. No.
Is that right?
You cracked the code, yeah. Some food historians trace the origins of the croissant to Eastern Europe, and more specifically, the mighty Austria. Woo. Yeah, it's Austria, mate. If you think about it as well, like I think we covered on the strudel episode, like Austria at this point in history, we'll go into dates and stuff in a second, but at this point in history is like one of the main cultural hubs of Europe.
Yeah.
You know, it's an incredibly rich area. The Habsburgs are in control.
Yeah.
You know, it's a place to
They're
be.
They're paving the way, aren't they, for the rest of Europe, really, at this point?
Yeah, exactly. So how does it all start? How do they trace the origins of the croissant to specifically Austria? Well, it's all down to the father of the croissant, the Kipfel. The Kipfel, Kilfi, Hornchen, Kiefel, depending on where you're eating the thing in Europe, is basically a traditional yeast bread roll that is rolled and formed into a crescent before baking.
Right.
So it looks kind of exactly like a croissant, but rather than it being like buttery and flakery, it's flakery.
It's like that video, you know, the old couple. Have you seen it? The old couple. It's a really old like advert, and they're trying. The husband's trying to get it right, and he's like buttery flake.
Oh
flakery.
yeah. They're sat in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Buttery. Oh god damn it.
Yeah. Such a legendary video, that. Oh, maybe we'll put a link to that as well when we release this episode.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, rather than it being flakery and buttery, it's just a sweet roll. So it's like proper, bread roll type thing. Yeah. And this sort of type of roll is a super common type. It was first documented in around the 10th century in a list of foods. List of foods. I can't talk anymore.
Feuds. No, it's because when you're talking about things old, it's like people fighting, isn't it? Like feud.
Feuds.
Oh, love that.
So yeah, it's a super common type of bread roll that was first documented in a 10th century list of foods consumed in a convent in Eastern Europe. The list mentioned a panis luantis, which is described as a small crescent-shaped roll, often eaten during fasts.
Right. There is like a common theme that we've kind of started to slowly pick up on across these episodes, the relationship between food and religion, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Like a lot of the origin of these foods that we've discussed have kind of like a religious background, don't they, in a way?
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Sure.
Like, because I listened to the Homo Deus book, and which was the one before that, it was Sapiens, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and the guy in there talking about, the origins of the human species, and he's talking about the fact that religion was just the place of learning for anything. Before we had universities, there was like religious places. So I guess that, that kind of like encompasses food as well, doesn't it? Recipes and where any kind of literature or texts about making food and the history of food was probably held in these kind of like religious areas. Yeah. So what did you say? That was the kind of like a convent, was it? That was being...
Yeah, convent, yeah.
Right.
Also, on your point as well, like religious, like monks and religious fellows were the only ones that could read or write as well.
Right, so they're the only ones that can actually access this info anyway.
Access it and write down what's going on, like obviously write down what people are eating, people are doing in the free time. Like they were one of the only few sectors of society that could actually read and write stuff. Yeah. So that's why a lot of our knowledge of what went on during this time comes from, like you said, religious
entities and
religious manuscripts, religious lists, religious whatever.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that kind of like contains the food as well, like the recipes and the knowledge of how to make things as well. That's kind of like an interesting aspect of it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
We're clever, aren't we? We're not just, laughs and giggles. We know our shit.
Yeah. We know a little bit.
I'm joking.
Dipped our toes in the...
That's such like a basic
in the
comment.
History of the world.
Really?
Yeah, innit? Yeah. Proper thing with fucking like Charles Darwin's over here.
Yeah, an actual legit food historian is just going to be like, fuck are these two?
Anyway, yeah. So Austria is considered to be the birthplace of Kipfel, as it was documented in at least 1227 when they were recorded in the Babenberg-ruled Vienna as Chipfen. Chipfen, CH, like a chip, and then FEN.
Wow.
Chipfen.
Is Kipfel, the sweet roll, still consumed today, or is that kind of just...
I have eaten.
Have you?
I have eaten one on my travels to Vienna.
Nice. How would you describe it?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a bagel that hasn't been dipped and boiled before it's been baked.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And they're usually sweet as well, so they're usually flavored with like vanilla or sugar.
So would you have that in the morning as well with like a coffee or something?
Yeah, exactly. So in Vienna you can get a breakfast in the morning. Obviously, that's when you eat breakfast, which is just like a basket of breads. Right. Yeah, there's a word for it. I can't remember.
Yeah. Buschkettenbrechen.
Carrie's mum and dad are going to be fuming at me because I don't remember. But there's a basket of breads that you get, and they're sometimes found in there.
Right. Dig through it. Find that one.
Yeah, right at the bottom usually.
It's like a red raffle.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. So they're still eating that today then?
Still eating that today.
All right.
So this first documentation of Chipfen comes in the form of a poem, funnily enough. Ooh. And this poem was written by a bloke called Jans de Enkiel, who is most famous for his History of the World work. This History of the World work started before the Six-Day Creation and told of Satan's rebellion in heaven and relating the biblical stories of the Old Testament and continuing with Homer and other classical Greek, Roman material, all the way down to the list of emperors through Charles the Great to Frederick II, Holy Roman Empire.
Oh my God.
So this guy basically wrote kind of like a short history of the world almost.
But using religious stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
exactly. Anyway, so his poem about Christmas treats, the Christmas treats at Viennese bakers.
I'm just going to take a minute away from the Satan killing Jesus and talk about Christmas treats.
Yeah. Hey, he can do it all, this guy. He can do it all, can Jans.
Yeah. Little Christmas cake, little tiny chocolate roll, Satan crucified Jesus.
Now, yeah. Back to fucking evil himself, Satan.
Yeah. Emperor Augustus killing everybody. Little fairy pie. I don't know what accent that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounded mysterious though.
It did.
So we've got his poem, and it doesn't translate well at all into English. So what Miles is about to read is not going to make any sense whatsoever. But I thought it'd be funny just to include it.
Okay.
If you could just read this poem in a daintily voice, very, you're happy it's Christmas. Da 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 da. Like,
give me the direction here.
Yeah. So it's Christmas, right? It's 12:27. There's Viennese bakers like scattering around, carrying like
everyone's having mulled wine.
Yeah, mulled wine.
The lumberjacks have come down from the hills.
There's fucking Yule logs knocking about.
Everyone's in the town.
Yeah. The first snowfall is just coming in.
Do needed the pecks, chips and white spots, then knows a hermeline.
So I imagine it sounded better and made possibly more sense in German.
Yes.
Or Old German or whatever the fucking language they were dishing out in this day.
Do needed the pecks, chips and white spots, then knows a hermeline. I mean, that could literally be saying anything.
That could be anything. Anyway, nevertheless, it's important as it's the first reference to Kipfel in Austria. So the earliest one we have.
So which bit's talking about Kipfel though there?
I think it's that Hermeline bit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Then knows a Hermeline.
This is what I mean. Like, I was just trying to figure out. So I saw this poem, and I saw that like everyone, the book that it was featured in, they were like, "This is the first mention of Kipfel," and I was like, "Where is Kipfel?"
Maybe it's the chips and white spots. Maybe that's like a part of it.
Maybe
it's a description of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, so in Austria itself, Kipfel is formally recognised by the government as a traditional food. So
right.
Serious shit. According to the Austrian Ministry of Tourism, Kipfel was most likely a traditional monastery pastry baked primarily for Easter.
Wow, okay.
So again, back into the religious side of things.
Is that part of the thing where it's like when governments issue it like a nation's official thing, it has to have that stamp on it? Like we were talking about cheese, weren't we? Like, was it Parmesan we were talking about? And it's like it has to be made in
DOP, is it? Is it DOP?
Yeah. Is this a similar thing or not quite?
So no, I don't think this is a similar thing, because I think that means that to call some, I think it's a DOP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically what that means is that to be called Parmesan or whatever we're talking about, it has to come from that specific region. Yeah. I think here they're just saying that Kipfel is a traditional Austrian food.
Oh, okay, got you. Because bread don't travel well anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's got a sticker on it, but it's fucking stale as shit.
Yeah. Taking 6 weeks on a fucking freight to get it.
Yeah. It's got a sticker though, it's legit. But it's really hard.
It's like green.
Yeah, all you can do is make sweet croutons with it.
So as we've said, they're described as being like crescent-shaped rolls made of yeast wheat dough and popular coffee breaks, breakfast all over Austria. Like I said, they've got a very similar texture to bagels, though unlike bagels, they're not dipped in the boiling water baking soda mix before you cook them.
Right.
Much denser, sweeter, way less buttery than your croissant, and like I said, often flavoured with vanilla, sweet ingredients, that sort of shit.
Delicious,
but how delicious. But how did the Kipfel get its crescent shape? Why make it a crescent? Like, why?
So that's like an artistic decision, is it? It's not just the way that they get baked that it becomes that shape. They actually turn it, because you do get straight croissants.
Yeah. Exactly. Like it's obviously you have to curl it. You have to curl it round, don't you? Before
so there's a reason behind them doing that.
There's a reason, and here's the reason. Well, here's where things get a bit hazy and a bit problematic, since legends and rumours have muddied the waters for centuries. Yeah, exactly. Like, we've done enough of these episodes to know that Chinese whispers over fucking centuries long history have changed things and changed beliefs. And nevertheless, interesting story. It's fun.
There's controversy behind this curved shape then.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So, Miles, you were a baker at one point in life, fairly recently, right?
Yes, I'm trying to forget about it, but bring it up on the podcast, no problem.
Yep. So I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to put you back in the bakery.
Okay. Yep.
You're working a night shift. Okay.
God, I'm getting
shivers.
My hands are sweating. Go on.
So you've got the machines going, right? And you're, I don't know what you're doing. You're kneading dough, whatever, right? And then suddenly the machine stops. It's done. Ding. Bread's ready.
It's like a fucking microwave.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suddenly, you hear a noise. You hear a noise underneath you. You hear people talking in a language you don't understand. Is that Turkish, maybe? Maybe. What do you do here? What's your next steps?
I go down with my freshly baked bread and I say, "Hey guys, you want some of my bread?"
Right. So you'd offer your hard-earned baked dough to whoever is underneath you.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's not what happened, but the situation is exactly what situation a Viennese baker was in, or supposedly was in 1863.
Right, so he's baking and he can hear voices beneath him that sound like they're Turkish.
They're Turkish, exactly. So in 1863, the Ottomans were full-on sieging the Austrian capital of Vienna.
Okay, right.
They had completely surrounded
so when I said run for the hills,
city.
That's actually probably inaccurate.
That's impossible. Yeah, you couldn't do that.
But probably a good idea if it was possible.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So they had the city completely surrounded and were staking the Austrians out. You know, we're talking cannons, rifles, bows, arrows, all sorts of shit.
The Ottomans were just like absolutely ruthless, weren't they?
Yeah. And they have their eyes set on Europe as well.
Okay, God.
So during the siege, the Ottomans are thought to have had the classic thought of, well, can't go through them. We certainly can't go around them. And we can't go over them. I know.
Underneath.
Let's go under them.
So what are they doing? Going through tunnels underneath?
Yes, exactly what they tried to do. Exactly, yeah. So they tried to dig under the city walls and basically breach in the Austrian capital that way.
Wow. Okay.
But luckily, an Austrian baker named Adam Spiel is thought to have had other ideas. Now, I found one reference where they named the baker and then loads of other references where they said that it was an unknown baker. So I've just included this guy just because it sounds cool. He probably wasn't called Adam Spiel. Yeah.
Adam Spiel. Saves the day from the Ottomans.
Yeah, exactly.
Does not sound legit,
does it? Yeah.
Like Dora the Explorer, just like saving the day. You've got little Adam Spiel, the baker.
Adam Spiel.
Foiling the Ottomans' plans.
I mean, if he wasn't called Adam Spiel, don't hate on me. I thought it was a cool thing to include. So.
Oh no, he's definitely Adam Spiel.
Definitely. So during the 19th century, most of a baker's life was spent underground, working in cellars.
Right.
You know, a place where you can get a more reliable temperature that's needed when working with dough and,
cooler.
And shit like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's reported that the baker, Adam Spiel, heard the Ottoman troops digging and conversing in their foreign tongue through the walls of the cellar and immediately reported them to the authorities.
There's some Turkish people down into the cellar, talking, whispering, laughing.
I thought it was me rolls, but no.
It's not. I just want to make my kipfel in peace and quiet down into my little dark, wet cellar. Is that too much to ask in this day and age? Yeah. Sort this out. Flush these rats out. For fuck's sake.
I just want to make my rolls.
So what happened? What's the consequence here?
Well, the authorities quickly rushed to the scene and the Ottomans were quickly expelled from the city. The tunnel was blown up and Adam Spiel was given a hero's celebration.
Nice. Cool.
But, being the humble man that he was, Adam asked for no reward other than the exclusive right to bake crescent-shaped pastries commemorating the incident. The crescent being the symbol of Islam, on the moon, on the map, sorry.
The crescent.
The Ottoman app. Ottoman app! They're not fucking knocking around with apps on their phone.
Conquering the world following GPS on an app.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just digging the tunnel with the fucking map, like on their fucking smartphone. Which way, Turkish? Take a right up here.
Take a right. Yeah. Google's like, you have arrived.
Yeah, that's what he heard through the wall.
Yeah. Turkish Siri saying you have arrived.
Yeah. In 200 meters, you have breached the defenses.
Yeah. Continue on to rape, pillage, and murder.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
So yeah, this is the whole thought that he wanted to commemorate the incident and commemorate the lifting of the siege by baking these crescent-shaped breads.
What a goon. Like, can I just say, right, in those in that time period, like, times are tough, yeah. Like, you haven't got medicine, you haven't got all the scientific and technological advances that have made living much more comfortable and nice in modern day. Times are tough. You need to get everything you can. It's every man for himself back then more than ever. So when you've done something like saved a whole city and someone in charge has said, what do you want? Name your prize. Don't just say you want to fucking shape the bread you already make slightly curved at each end into a crescent.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
it's
ask
mad,
for some gold.
No.
Ask for like a new house. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. That was your time.
Yeah, man. It's mental, isn't it? It's absolutely
fucking idiot. Anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So the breads that he made were very similar to the traditional kitful, which we'd already talked about. Yeah, exactly. But were shaped in the form of a crescent moon, which had appeared on the Ottoman Empire.
He thinks he's well clever with that as well.
Flags. Yeah, I know.
But if
he basically was like, what's your reward? Oh, I'll just make a dish pastry.
That's what I'm saying. It's a dish. Because they were Turkish, so he's like, I'll make my bread into their sacred symbol as a fuck you.
Exactly.
That's actually so cool.
Yeah, it is. So much shade.
Yeah. The biggest dish since the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Oh,
he makes this dish pastry, and it was made to celebrate how valiantly the Austrians defended their capital.
Oh, God. What a ledge.
Brilliant.
So, like, yeah, but the thing is, right, there's two reasons why that's cool as fuck, right? The first one, in spite of having, like, you could have had, like, a castle, you could have asked for loads of gold, you could have asked for loads of, like, cattle or whatever. So instead, he's gone for a dish. And then secondly, his dish is living on today. We're still making croissants in this way. Like, there's been a dish that's, like, gone on for longer than this.
No, it's completely timeless dish. Just
like,
never
Turks
gives up.
are still pissed.
Croissants are like illegal in fucking Turkey.
He's dead and gone, but his fucking crescent-shaped croissants live on. Oh, what a ledge, Adam Spiel.
Conveniently, there's also another legend that came around during this time as well, and that is that the cappuccino was invented almost simultaneously, and it was inspired by the strong Turkish coffee that was left after the Ottomans retreated and the spoils of war were claimed by the Austrians. They came across this Turkish coffee and it was like, oh, this is too strong. Let's put some fucking
2 gallons of milk in it. Yeah.
Ooh, cappuccino.
Ooh, cappuccino. Wow. So this strong coffee was fueling this empire growth of the Ottomans, giving them the energy to dig tunnels underneath Austrian bakeries.
Yeah, that's it. But as with anything, a legend is just a legend. Yeah. And many historians, including James Chevalier, who is an expert in all things croissants, and he wrote a book about croissants, as we'll get into later. He believed Chevalier. So he believes that the theory is wholly untrustworthy, as the largely crescent-shaped kitful existed way before the siege of Vienna.
Right.
So he's
arguing against it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a few other legends as well on how it came to be crescent-shaped as well. Okay. So there's one that like it was invented in Europe to celebrate the defeat of the Umayyad forces by the Franks at the Battle of Tours in 732. So this is like well old. Yeah. With the shape representing the Islamic crescent, or that it was invented in Budapest
as a boomerang.
As a boomerang, as a baked boomerang that flew straight into your mouth.
Yeah, when you're done playing with your friends, lunch is served.
Your mum just fucking pings a fucking
baked
boomerang out the window into your mouth.
Where was that? Budapest?
In Buda, yeah. So you've got Buda and then you've got Pest. They're two different areas.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because the river separates Buda. I think Buda's in the north and Pest is in the south, and the river separates them.
Oh, I never knew this. And then
obviously it's called Budapest, but if you drill down, there's two specific areas.
Oh, is it what? To this day, they're still considered two separate areas.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Okay.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think Baker Boy Adam Spiel wins it for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Out of all these, he's got the best story and he's got the best diss. So I like it.
The best diss.
So we've kind of got the idea as to the shape, where it came from, but at the moment we've still obviously got nothing that resembles the croissant we know and love today. You know, we've just got a sweet baked bread at the minute. A sweet baked bread.
Sweet baked bread.
We've not got your buttery and flaky-ness. To get to the bottom of that, we have to travel west towards La République.
Is this where we start to see the French influence?
Yeah, here we go. So, luckily for us, the story of how the Austrian Kipfel arrived in France is another disputed one, just because there's never a bloody straight answer on this fucking podcast.
Nope.
So, for many years, people believed that Queen Marie Antoinette, a native of Austria and daughter of the powerful Empress Maria Theresa, introduced it to the court of Versailles in 1770 after her marriage to King Louis... Roman numerals. I'll have to Google this one, I'm afraid.
XVI.
Yeah.
X is 10, isn't it? And then V is 5, and then one after it is 6, so it's the 16th.
16th. Yeah, you're right.
I'm fucking clever.
You're fucking clever. You've absolutely deduced that, haven't you?
X is 10, and then the V is 5, and then if there's an I before the V, you minus it off. So it would have been 4 if it was on the left-hand side of the V. And if the I is on the right side of the V, you add 1 to 5.
Smashed it.
Yeah.
You absolutely smashed it.
16.
So yeah, after marriage to King Louis XVI, a passage from 1990 by a historian which supports this theory reads...
The Baker boys were granted the privilege of creating a rich roll in the shape of a crescent, the Turkish emblem. These rolls were enormously popular with the Viennese, who called them Kipferl. When Marie Antoinette left Vienna to marry Louis XVI, she missed these tasty treats so much that she sent for an Austrian baker to teach his Paris counterparts how to make them. That's my historian voice.
From 1990. Nice.
Yeah.
Queen Marie, by the way, was the last queen of France, and thanks to her elegance and glamour, helped provoke the popular unrest that led to the French Revolution and to overthrow the monarchy forever, in case you didn't know.
Whoa, so she's responsible for that, stoking the fire of that
yeah, exactly.
movement. Whoa.
Yeah, because obviously, like, the French people were starving and there was massive unrest, whilst the aristocracy were living their high life. So,
if it wasn't fair, we wouldn't have had Hugh Jackman and a bunch of the others singing their hearts out on the streets of France.
Yeah, you're right. Les Miserables.
Miserables. Who else was it in that? He was a police officer, wasn't he? Who's that played by?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Right, so she was the last monarch of...
France, last queen of France. Yep.
Whoa,
but generally, historians poo-poo this account, and that the baked good only became popular in France during the 19th century, so relatively sort of recently in the grand scheme of things. Also, that's a weird thing to do, isn't it? Like, she just turns up at the court of Versailles and is like, hey, check out the sweetbread. I don't know, it's a bit of a weird thing to do. But there's another theory, and this other theory is way more concrete. So some historians attribute the arrival of the Kipfel in France with a bakery. This bakery opened up in Paris in the years 1837 and 1839, sort of around then. Bakery was opened by two Austrian-born bakers, August Zang and Ernest Schwarzer. Now, I looked into August Zang, and it sounds like it's a Chinese of origin name, Zhang. But I couldn't find any reference to him being
I thought you were going to say, I googled that, and it just took me to a local Chinese takeaway. That does sound like a Chinese name, though, for sure.
Yeah, so I looked into the name, and it goes back to 4,500 years, which is mental. And it goes back to the grandson of a legendary emperor, Huang Di, in Chennai, and his grandson was called Hui. And Hui was the person who invented bow and arrows in China and was put in charge of their production. He did such a good job that he was given the name Zhang, which is composed of symbols of the Chinese symbols for bow and long, meaning to, when they come together, it means to stretch open a bow.
Right, yeah.
It's cool. But from what I could see, this guy isn't Chinese, he's Austrian. So I don't know. I don't know where this name came from.
Mystery.
Anyway, Zhang and Schwarzer opened La Boulangerie Viennese around 1837 and began selling a variety of Austrian-style baked goods, including, you guessed it, Kipfel. Now, boulangerie, by the way, is the French name for bakery.
Okay.
So it's basically called the Viennese Bakery. That's what the shop's called.
Right. Yeah, this is much more plausible.
Yeah.
Bringing over their own traditional baked goods to a French audience.
Yep. So La Boulangerie Viennese, commonly referred to as Zang's, which is what I'll be calling it because that other name is daft, was a hit with local residents. I ain't wasting my time spitting them French bars when I could just call it Zang's.
One syllable, nice and easy.
Yeah, exactly. So from the bakery at 92 Rue de Rochelle, Zang patented a steam oven that achieved the much-loved sheen that you get on well-made pastries. You know, the shiny top that you get?
Yeah,
exactly what you were talking about before. The shiny top that you get on croissants, pain au chocolat, pain au raisin, that shit.
Is that an egg wash? Or is that just a product of this oven?
I think it's a product of the oven that they're baked in.
Right, okay.
That's how, it's the steam which gives it the sheen on top, I believe.
Okay.
I believe. So, a boulangerie, by the way, is the name reserved for artisan bakeries in France.
Okay.
All boulangeries are bakeries, but not all bakeries are boulangeries. That makes sense. So, we first see the word croissant cropping up in dictionaries, menus, and other texts from around the mid-19th century. The word was used in reference to butter and flour-based crescent-shaped bread still. So they've not really evolved at all. They're still breads. There's no laminated, none of that laminated lark that we see today. It's just, they're still breads. They're just now called croissant.
But with butter though.
But with butter. Yeah.
Right.
So bakers in Paris and then quickly all over France began making their own versions of the croissant. And by the 1870s, the term had graced our shores, with Mr. Dickens writing,
"The workman's pain de ménage and the soldier's pain de munition to the dainty croissant on the boudoir table." So what's he said there? The workman's pain de ménage and the soldier's pain de munition to the dainty croissant on the boudoir table.
So I think he's he's
describing like a range of things.
Yeah, exactly. Describing a scene.
All the way to a dainty croissant. Yeah.
Yeah. However, it isn't until the early 20th century, as James Chevalier notes in his book on the history of Zang's contribution to the French viennoiserie, that the butter croissant as we know it was born, and we left behind the crescent-shaped bread that had ruled the roost up until this point.
Right.
So now we're getting to see the modern day croissant. Yeah. So evidence strongly suggests that it was only in the first decade of the 20th century that bakers started using puff pastry to assemble their croissant, and they quickly saw the benefits that this new way of baking brought.
So less dense, less cakey, less bready, and more kind of like flaky and crumbly.
Yeah, exactly. They then started to add yeast to the puff pastry, something that hadn't been done for its use in the normal shit they use puff pastry for, like vol au vent, pastry cell. It's kind of like they still wanted to honour the grandfather kipful and wanted to maintain at least some of the ingredients found in the original.
Right.
Despite, their innovation. So they've obviously ditched the whole bready dough and gone for the puff pastry, but then they've still retained the yeast which was used and
that's what gives it the sort of the air pockets inside and gives it more of a look of bread from the outside sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this combination of the new and the old changes the texture, the mouthfeel, and yielded an airier, puffier, crispier specimen than the one introduced by Zang in the 1830s.
Right.
You've ditched your whole dense bread thing and now you've got a flaky, buttery pastry with well differentiated layers.
Thank God they did, because there's enough doughy, dense baked goods in the world. There's not enough nice, airy, crispy, delicious, flaky things, I don't think.
There could never be enough crispy, flaky, nice things.
Yeah. I'm glad they did, though, because, we just, I fucking love a good croissant.
Yeah, me too. Just on Zang, by the way, before we leave him. So Zang sold his bakery a few years after opening. He moved back to Austria and founded the country's first daily newspaper and amassed a fortune in the banking and mining industries.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah. This guy has an ornate tomb in Vienna's central cemetery, but his tomb makes no mention of his brief, but obviously fucking very significant foray into the baking business. Yeah. This dude is cold, man. Literally dipped into the world of baking, completely changed the game, left, made a fortune elsewhere, and was just like, whoa. I don't even need credit for it.
in two separate disciplines as well.
Yeah.
Like baking, and then what was it? Newspaper and something else.
So he started his first daily newspaper, and then he amassed a fortune in banking and mining.
Even banking and mining are two different things.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
I think he was in the military as well. I think he did bits in the military.
How does he have time for this?
Well, man, this dude's cold.
You cold, fam. You're real cold.
Wow. Fucking bussing.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool dude. Anyway, so back to the croissant. Mm-hmm. Now, some French purists or some purists would say that the croissant is entirely French because obviously the French were the ones that introduced the puff pastry.
If you're ignoring all of the beforehand,
exactly,
all the influence that it took to get to that point.
And I mean, yes, they've sort of evolved it and changed it, but they wouldn't have been able to do that without the Kipfel,
anyway.
and its the predecessors before that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but we come across this, don't we, time and time again on the podcast, the trying to find the fine line between having created something or having just adapted something into something slightly different.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what all of this is really, isn't it? It's just evolution of the way we make food and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, James Chevalier has a really good quote from his book. He mentions that
the croissant began as the Austrian Kipfel, but became French the moment people began to make it with puff pastry, which is a French innovation. It has fully taken root in its adopted land.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, definitely. Because it is a very integral change that they made to it that does kind of transform the whole eating experience of it. But the other side to that is that it's like we said before, it just wouldn't have been made without the influence of the Kipfel in the first place, would it?
No, 100%. So by the beginning of the 20th century, the butter croissant made with puff pastry had all but completely eclipsed its Austrian predecessor. You now had scores of bakeries around France expanding their repertoires beyond bread to include croissants, pain au chocolat, and pain au raisin.
Nice.
So at its birth, the croissant was largely reserved for the upper aristocratic classes that had the money to afford such a luxury.
Yeah.
After all, croissants are made with pure butter, and pure butter was expensive during those days.
Yeah.
Difficult to make, timely to make, so all of that means it's
reserved to the rich.
Expensive. Exactly. After a while, however, margarine and cheaper fats were used in croissant making, opening the baked good up to the middle and lower classes.
Right.
So there's actually two types of croissant, if you want to get technical. You've got the croissant ordinaire and you've got the croissant au bière. Again, not French, probably butchered it, but you've got two.
Ordinaire au bière.
The croissant ordinaire is the one with the margarine and the cheaper fats.
For ordinaire people.
I think so, maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Could be, Miles.
Yeah, could be. Bonsoir, Miles.
Bonsoir, Miles.
And then
what was the other one?
Croissant au bière. I'm guessing butter is beer.
Oh, yeah.
Beer.
Beer. Yeah. Yeah, toast, beer, and jam, please.
You have to say that.
There's something about ripping into the French accent that British people just can't hold back from doing.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck him.
Whoa. Jesus. So, two different types of croissants.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Two different types.
Never knew that.
And to this day, you can still find both versions knocking around. You've got, the pure butter and the margarine ones. Yeah, you can find them both in most French bakeries. Yeah. Interestingly, though, only the croissant ordinaire is typically presented in the crescent shape.
Right.
The croissant au bière is baked into the semi-triangular loaves with straighter edges. Yeah. So that's...
I wonder why that is. I wonder why that deviation occurred.
Yeah. No, I'm not really too sure. I couldn't really find any evidence.
I guess it's just the middle and lower class are the more inclined to rip into the Turkish.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Nice. By the mid 20th century, croissants became a familiar fixture in everyday French life and increasingly used as a national emblem for France itself. Alongside the baguette, berets, cigarettes, and beheading members of the aristocracy. The croissant is quintessentially French. It's up there. We've got a great description of Paris during the 20th century from a lady called Nancy Milford. She writes,
Paris in the early morning has a cheerful, bustling aspect, a promise of delicious things to come, positive smell of coffee and croissant, quite peculiar to itself. The people welcome a new day as if they were certain of liking it. The shopkeepers pull up their blinds, serene in the expectation of good trade. The workers go happily to their work. The people who have sat up all night in nightclubs go happily to their rest. The orchestra of motor car horns, of clanking trams, of whistling policemen tunes up for the daily symphony, and everywhere is joy.
I think that is excellent writing from start to finish.
Yeah, isn't
it? So well written that. Particularly the first paragraph. Paris in the early morning has a cheerful, bustling aspect, a promise of delicious things to come, a positive smell of coffee and croissants, quite peculiar into itself.
Yeah.
Beautiful writing.
Isn't it? It just gives you such a good,
Yeah.
like quintessentially French, like feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think she's a big deal, this Nancy Milford. She wrote a lot of shit, I think. Yeah. The people welcome a new day as if they were certain of liking it. Oh, such positivity.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just imagine those little cobbled streets of Paris and, back in like the early 1900s or something. And, like you said, all these shopkeepers opening up and all these amazing smells. And
yeah, for sure.
Oh, God, yeah. Nice.
Beautiful. But then the Second War came in, and Second World War came in.
Fucked it all up.
So after the Second World War, in the wake of rapidly advancing industrialization and the advent of the consumer goods revolution, croissants began to appear as mass market products produced by big corporations for distribution in supermarkets, fast food, restaurants, airports, and everything in between, basically. The loss of handmade croissants thanks to machines and the advent of chain bakeries in France meant that pre-molded, frozen croissants shipped from factories were delivered to low-quality bakers.
Yeah.
It was the norm now. That's just how shit happened. They didn't make their croissants in store anymore. It was just shipped.
Yep.
They were shipped to them frozen, which is a shame. And, I think that still goes on today. Gone are the days where the majority of French people bought their croissant from a family-owned bakery, where the goods were made that morning. Instead, like all over the world, they're usually purchased from a supermarket in, they're tightly wrapped plastic bags.
Or even just like little plastic boxes.
The croissants themselves. Yeah.
Covered in plastic
boxes, jammed full of preservatives.
There's no substitute, because there's a really good French bakery in London, and I've only been a few times, but whenever I've gone and had croissants from there, almond croissants, oh my God, they're massive.
Top notch.
They're like the size of 3 regular croissants. They're huge.
Got some almond puree in there.
Almond puree, yeah.
Oh, beautiful, isn't
it? Powdered sugar on top, flaked roasted almonds on top as well. But yeah, there's just no substitute.
No.
But a lot of people will just go through life and never really think to try it like that.
No, yeah, because they've had it from the supermarket and they're just like, that's their idea of what a croissant is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so easy and convenient just to grab one and that's it. But
like when they go to a proper bakery and see a croissant, they're like, oh, I'm not getting that. It's just a croissant. I'll get crazy looking muffin.
Yeah, when really like the differences between the two croissants are huge. Well, maybe not after listening to this though. That's the thing.
Yeah, maybe. Trendsetters.
People listening to this might, when they go out to a proper bakery, they might be like, I listened to that podcast, actually, I'm going to have a croissant. And then we've done our job and we can die happy.
Or later down the line, they'll come to the food bakery.
Nice, yes.
And you'll be in there with your baking knowledge.
God, yeah.
Get you back in the ovens.
roped back into the thing I tried to get out of.
Straight away. No escape.
Yeah. It's nice how life comes around to full circles.
Once a baker, always a baker.
Yeah. Oh dear. I don't think so. But yeah, who knows? I mean, we always bang on about what the food restaurant. Maybe there's some croissant.
Little subset in there.
Hurry up with my damn croissant.
Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah. We've got the Kanyes of the world coming in and demanding the croissants.
So, whilst the industrialisation of the croissant isn't something that croissant purists cheer about, it is an incredibly important moment in the baked goods history. Yeah. It meant for the first time, croissants were readily available all over the world. If you visit the likes of Jamaica, China, New Zealand, or anywhere really, I can guarantee you will find a continental breakfast on some menu somewhere with a croissant being the star of the show.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. From Vienna and Eastern Europe to Paris and then the world, the humble little bread/pastry has travelled a long way with us humans, and we should thank it every day for its service, I think. The satisfying crunch and scattering of crumbs, the indulgent mouthfeel of butter wrapped in the overwhelming sensation of lightness. There are few foods that are as culturally iconic as the croissant, and so seemingly quintessentially French. That is one of the first things you think of when it comes to La République.
It is.
But as we've seen, and as we will continue to see in each episode, food has a funny way of surprising you on how it came to be.
Amen.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Just say the exact same thing with a little
At the end of every word.
Every single word, yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know how recent this is, and maybe they've been doing it all along, but there's people having them in the savoury form now as well, aren't they? Like putting in ham and cheese and having kind of
Ham and cheese.
ham and cheese croissants. And
there's so many different types now.
Isn't there? I mean, that's another thing that probably is a sign of the success of the croissant is its adaptability. Like you can put jam in there, you can put different types of jam in there, you can put the cheese and the hams in there, you can have almonds, you can have, you can do whatever you want with it. There's even cronuts now, isn't there? Like donuts that are croissants.
Yeah. I was going to talk about them, but then I read a scathing review of a French baker talking about cronuts, and he was just absolutely disgusted with what they'd done and how they'd completely taken the croissant and just thrown it in the dirt and stood on it when it came to the cronut. So I thought better leave that out of the croissant episode.
It goes back to that notion of when we were talking about Italians. I think it might have been pizza, and we were saying that like certain nations, their identity and their opinion of themselves is directly associated with the food. And if you criticize or change or alter their dishes, their national dishes, it's like a personal attack on them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hypocritical though, because they basically did that to get the croissant.
Well, exactly. It's all one big hypocrisy, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly.
So shut up.
So shut up, you damn French boy.
French guy.
You're going to say fuckhead then,
yeah. So, bloody croissant. There we go.
Bloody croissant.
Again, just took us to a place we didn't really expect.
Yeah. Adam Spiel, bakery saved the day. Baker
could have had a castle or 1,000 women.
Castle, but then we wouldn't have had the croissant. So
he just wanted to upturn the ends of his croissant. So no worries, Spiel.
Spiel. We will. I'll continue to eat croissants and continue on your diss. So do not worry.
Yeah, we'll live. The diss will continue. It will live on.
Diss alive. Yeah.
Just don't eat it in front of a Turk.
No, definitely don't do that.
That was really cool. Going into croissant, we kind of knew it was going to be like a heavy hitter, so to speak. It's we kind of had the sense it would have a lot of history behind it, didn't we? But it never quite unfolds in the way we think it does.
No, for sure. I do think there's obviously a lot of legends and a lot of people have just
contradicting stories and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think people have just seen an opportunity to create a cool story, so have said that this happened because of this, and then this led to this, and just ultimately gets a bit out of hand. But I think there's some clear like facts in here about how, for example, like Zhang's bakery. Like we know that existed. There's evidence, there's pictures of it, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know that was one of the first Austrian bakeries in France, and what was happening in Austria to keep full and all this sort of shit. So.
Before I forget, I had something written here in my notes which I wanted to say, but it just didn't come up. But it was someone on Reddit. It was a guy explaining. He said, when I was a kid, my parents would always say, "Excuse my French" after a swear word. Yeah, like that. They would always, without a doubt, say that after swearing. And then apparently he was saying that on his first day of school, in primary school, his teacher pulled him up to the front during a little French lesson and said, "Can you say any words you know in French, or can you say any French you know?" And apparently he just stood there in front of his class day one and just went through all the swear words that his parents had said.
Absolutely brilliant.
To the absolute horror of this teacher. I just thought that was funny, just one of those things.
Yeah, man, it's unreal.
So cool. All right. Well, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode too.
Yeah,
we're having a lot of fun making them, aren't we?
Lots of fun.
Andy's doing all the research and writing the episodes, and I'm behind the scenes editing, making us sound less stupid.
Which is a difficult task. So I commend you for that. Well done.
Yeah, we've got our work cut out in that respect. Just cutting out all the ums and ahs.
And then the croissant went this way.
Oh no, it went this way actually. Yeah, cutting all that out.
Yeah, cutting all that out.
Before I forget, we have an awesome website that Andy's built, which is at www.whatthefoodpodcast.com. We've got an email address that you can send us a message, and that's whatthefoodpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Instagram now as well, which is whatthefoodpodcast on Insta.
And Facebook as well, which is the same. So
there we go.
We're all over the place. Can't get away from
We're
us.
everywhere. We're everywhere. Can't escape. But yeah, let us know what you think of the podcast, like any pointers or things that you like or what have you, and suggest a dish. Like if you want to hear about a dish and you want us to go and do the research and do it, then let us know. It'd be cool to hear from you.
Yeah, can't wait. We'll be waiting. We'll be refreshing our inboxes for the next...
Every 2 minutes.
24 hours.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for our next episode. See you later. Bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Au revoir.
Au revoir.